Good. Oh, it's bright up here. I loved what Porter said earlier. Make something to connect with people, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make something, and I'll make something that you guys are actually going to eat for lunch today. And I'm going to connect with you all. My love affair with food started at a really young age. I was 9, visiting my Palestinian grandmother in Bethlehem when she had me help her harvest dinner one night. My grandma was an amazing cook. She grew vegetables, had fruit trees, she kept chickens, goats, and rabbits. As kids, my brother and I loved playing with the rabbits. One afternoon, she grabbed me and took me out to the garden. We picked out a rabbit, and she had me hold its hind legs. My heart was racing. I could feel the rabbit stretching its legs, trying to get free. We both bowed our heads, and her knife silenced that rabbit. My mom found out, and she was horrified. And my grandma looked at her daughter, and she said, "It's all good. He's fine." That moment changed me. I connected with food, and I connected it in a way that changed me forever. I realized that food was life. My mom had an equal influence on my vision for food and community. She was an amazing cook because she knew that as she fed us, she was loving us. She knew that as we ate, she was now part of us. That realization was really something that I know, that was me in my first cooking job, but 25 years ago. It's kind of crazy. But she completely changed my space. And it wasn't really until I was a cook, cooking in restaurants, that I realized what she taught me. She taught me that as a cook, you get to select ingredients. You get to prepare them, cook them, and then watch them enter another person's mouth. I mean, this is about as close as you can get to another person without having sex with them. It's crazy. What I cooked had the ability to make somebody feel really good, to make them energized, to make them feel happy and healthy, or to make them sick. And it's an incredible responsibility. I took that same philosophy and I applied it to the Bi-Rite Market, the grocery store that my brother and I took over from our family in 1998. It's located in the Mission District of San Francisco. This is a picture of it in 1940 when it was a working class neighborhood of Irish and Italian immigrants. The neighborhood that I grew, the way it was when I grew up in it in the 70s and 80s was very different than it is today. And I'm going to just kind of paint you a little picture of what it was like. Dolores Park, which is now kind of like the center of the universe for San Francisco, was where you went if you wanted to score dope. I mean, I grew up around heroin addicts. It was crazy. And if you wanted Doritos or malt liquor, you were on the right block. I was mugged twice and held up at gunpoint before I was 16. In 1998, when my brother and I took over, there were less than 40 jobs on our block. The windows were all covered with metal grates, and that was one of the first things that we did. We took them down. 6 of those 40 jobs were ours. Today, there are over 400 jobs on the single block of 18th Street between Guerrero and Dolores amongst the dozen businesses that now exist. 150 of those jobs belong to Bi-Rite staff members. It's incredible. I mean, it's like a 10 times growth in less than 15 years. And I'm going to tell you this not to brag, but to tell you how powerful our community is. When we started, our sales were $2 million, and today we're over 20 million. It's incredible to think about how fast and how much we've grown. Our productivity is 5 times that of a typical supermarket. And we don't have a 3-acre parking lot to do it. We've got none. The thing that I'm most proud of is that 70% of our spend stays in our local community. With a huge portion of it going to pay our staff a living wage and to providing them with extraordinary benefits. and another huge portion going to paying our suppliers, our farmers and our ranchers a fair price so they can stay on their land, so they can continue to grow good food for us. The crazy thing is in most communities today, only 10% of the food dollar actually stays in that local community. The other 90% leaves. It goes to paying the processors and packagers, the truckers, distributors, wholesalers, and the rest of the infrastructure that it takes to run a global food system. 10 grocery chains control 70% of our food dollars. It's crazy, 70% in the hands of 10 companies. It doesn't have to be this way. Each of you has an opportunity to balance this percentage when we think about what we buy and how we buy it and who we buy it from and where we spend our money. Really, every time we shop, every time we eat, we can either build or destroy our communities. At Bi-Rite, it's our mission that drives us. It's our mission of creating community through food. In our community, there's 4 distinct groups. It's our staff, our producers, our guests, and our environment. And those 4 groups need to be treated with the same love, the same respect, equal care. The minute that it's out of balance and out of whack, our mission fails. And when our mission fails, so does our community. And we can't let that happen. Unlike most businesses, for us, profit comes secondary. We value meaningful personal relationships. That's the most important thing to me. That's why I cook. I want to connect. It's about the people. It's about the people I buy the food from, and it's about you who's going to eat it. So how do we do this? How do we create community through food? It means buying from farmers who are passionate, who love what they do, who care about their land and care about the people that they work with. This peach, you guys are going to get to taste these peaches, or Somerset peaches from Farmer Al, from Frog Hollow in Brentwood, California, just an hour east of us. Farmer Al never sprays his trees. He pays his workers a living wage. He picks the peaches at perfect ripeness. So when you bite it, its juices drip down your chin, and you never want a commercial peach ever again. It means having guests. That's our customers. That's what we call them. Willing to brave our small and crowded space. Those of you who've been there know how crazy it is. Because they trust us. I mean, they trust that what we put on our shelves is going to feed their kids with something that's going to nurture them. How many of you trust the food that you buy? It's difficult. Creating community for food means having a staff that loves going up to our farm, that loves working really hard so they can understand and know firsthand where their food's coming from, so they can get their hands in the dirt and feel it. They're committed to knowing as much as they possibly can so they can share that information with our guests, because they are the link that builds that community. And it means being a steward to our environment, reducing our energy and reducing our waste whenever we can. One of the funnest programs that we started this year, we added pigs to our farm because we were trying to find a way to reduce the amount of food that we're sending off to the composting facility. I mean, this is really, really good food. And now we're taking that food up to the farm and feeding it to our pigs. And in 5 months that we've been raising these pigs, and for the rest of their life, we won't buy a single pound of feed. We've been able to feed them purely off of the food that would have been sent to landfill or to compost. This is how we do it at Bi-Rite. That's our mission. But each of you has an opportunity to build your own community every time you eat. I came here today to do what I do best, and that's to feed you. But I also came here today to teach you. I'm going to make a panzanella. It's one of my favorite summer salads. And it's really simple. It's just tomatoes, bread, a little Parmesan, and some greens, and a little vinaigrette. While I do it, I'm going to do a comparison of ingredients that I brought with me from Bi-Rite compared to those ingredients that I would have bought at a typical supermarket, so that you can see how huge of an impact making a positive, good food choice has on your community. Let's start with the Florida tomatoes. These tomatoes traveled 3,000 miles to get here. They were harvested green and then gassed to turn them red. The workers who work in these fields earn below minimum wage. They have no rights, no benefits, and many of them are sick because of the constant exposure to toxic pesticides. The land that the tomatoes are grown in is so dead that it takes millions of pounds of synthetic fertilizers to grow anything in it. And what do we end up with? A tomato that's virtually flavorless and indestructible. Now let's take these beautiful early girl tomatoes. Dry farmed from Tomatera Farms in Santa Cruz, California. Adriana, the farmer who grew these, she's in blue. She literally picked this seed because she knew it would grow in her particular climate. Don't want to cut myself. She picked early girls because she knew that they would grow and she knew that they would deliver the best flavor. And she doesn't have to add any inputs into her soil, nothing synthetic. The only thing that she uses is nitrogen-building fava plants. She picks the tomatoes one by one, nothing mechanical about it. So that way, she knows that they're perfectly ripe. And so then when you taste them, they taste like a tomato. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but a tomato should be a tomato. Adriana's a young farmer. She inspires the hell out of me because she's just grown incredibly over the last few years. In my opinion, she's the future of farming in America. Without people like her, we would be stuck with this industrial food. And I personally don't want that for my kids. Let's take bread. It's basic, right? It's the staff of life. It's something that we all love and enjoy. This supermarket artisan loaf has 12 ingredients in it. It's produced in a factory hundreds of miles away. The bread is par-baked, frozen, stored for months, and then shipped around the country to supermarket kitchens, where a baker pushes a pre-programmed button and then puts them in a plastic bag, made from predominantly refined white flour that has no nutrients. This bread, on the other hand, is beautiful. I mean, look at it. That's an artisan loaf of bread. It's made by Matt over at Firebrand Bakery in Oakland. Matt only uses organic flour. He picks his flours for their nutrient value and for their flavor. He makes everything by hand. And when you taste this bread, you'll know it's good. Now I just need to take the bread and just tear it up and put it into the salad. Just give me a second while I do that. I'm not sure if anybody's ever cooked on a TEDx stage before. But I'm kind of like that freak that likes to do things for the first time. Beautiful. It's a rustic salad. That's why I'm tearing it. It's like one of the most beautiful things. That's how my grandma did it, and she taught my mom that to do the same. All right, so greens. The root of the E. coli scare not long ago. Growing on an industrial farm in Salinas, California. Fields heavily sprayed with pesticides. Workers also sick. Land dead. Mechanically harvested. After they're harvested, they're triple washed in a chlorine solution to ensure that there's no bacteria alive. And that chlorine is virtually impossible to wash off. This arugula, on the other hand, comes from a small farm also in Salinas, and it's grown by Martin, who's here somewhere. Marty, you here? He's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite farmers, and he's a chef's farmer. He selects seeds for their flavor. Everything he grows is the best tasting product that can happen. He takes so much care and attention into producing good food for us. All hand harvested. The greens aren't washed. They come to us filthy. We're picking out slugs and other bugs out of it. But at least we know that it's organic, and I love it. So I'm just going to add a handful of arugula to that. And I've got a little vinaigrette that I made. And this is just a simple olive oil, red wine vinegar, a little salt. Just going to put that in there. Give this a toss. I washed my hands before I got up here, so don't freak. All right, there we go. It's beautiful. Love it. All right, so now we're going to take Parmesan. Green can. How many of you guys grew up eating this shit? It's crazy. I mean, if you read the ingredients, parts skim milk, cellulose powder to make sure it doesn't clump, and then potassium sorbate so it can stay on the shelf preserved for life. There's really nothing delicious about it. And the irony in the whole thing, $12 a pound. I couldn't believe it. It's not that much less than this beautiful Reggiano that comes from Italy. The cows where the milk came from, raised on grass, never given any artificial hormones. It's a perfect example of how our community extends beyond our local one. By eating this cheese, we're preserving a 1,000-year tradition in Italy. And we're preserving the land, the farmers, the dairymen, and the cheesemakers who've passed this tradition down from generation to generation. And it's delicious to boot. We're just going to take a little grate and put it on top of this salad. When you have something that's so delicious, you don't need much of it. That's the other thing that I love about good food, is that you don't need much to enjoy it. Look at this bowl. It's beautiful. I wish you could see it. Well, you get to see it when you go out to have lunch. There's a whole lot of it. Don't worry, this isn't going to be enough for 600. But what I love about this bowl is that it represents my entire community. Everybody in my community is in this bowl. My mom, who inspired this dish. Adriana, who grew the tomatoes. Matt, who baked the bread. Martin, who grew the arugula. And my staff, who helped me cut the cheese. I wasn't sure if I should throw that one in or not. Note to self, delete. Wouldn't it be crazy if everyone looked at food this way? If everyone realized that what they made, what they fed, what they ate had an opportunity to build their community? Fortunately, change is happening. There's a good food movement exploding around the country. We're challenging the status quo. We're demanding better product. And because of support from you, it's working. There are hundreds of farmers markets, hundreds of stores and producers around the country that are creating community through food. You guys are the link. We need you. Because in the act of farming, feeding, and eating, we're all in this together. Thank you. Bon appetit.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks.
Thank you.